Water, Waste and Energy Committee meeting 817. I do have an apology for Councillor PJ Young. Would someone like to move a procedural motion for the apology? Councillor Lacastra, and seconded Councillor Tozer. All those in favour? That's carried. Confirmation of minutes for the last meeting. Would anyone like to move those? Councillor Tozer, and seconded. I'll second that. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Councillors, we do have 4 start items, 5.1, 6.1, 6.2 and 6.3. Would anyone like to unstar any of those items? Oh, just before we get onto that, I don't know if any of you have actually put forward any conflicts of interest, but I guess all of you did receive a city solicitor's advice saying it's not necessary, and that's because it's considered the making or levying rates and charges or fixing of costs recovery fee by the local government, and she's comfortable that item 7.1, which is our closed session, can be discussed without any conflict of interest to any councillor. So just bring that up.
I only had 10.
You only had 10?
No.
Did you have a question on that, Councillor? No?
I didn't read the advice. Chair, I realised that it was emailed. Was that generic in regards to donations, or was it in regards to if you or a family member were one of the named parties?
That's ordinary business.
According to the city solicitor, a number of conflicts of interest declarations were received, and it's generic for all of them. Yeah, so that's all good. Anyone like to unstar any of the start items? No. Anyone like to move the start items? Councillor Tozer, and seconded Councillor McDonald. All those in favour? That's carried. Our last item on the agenda, 7.1, or the second last on the agenda, 7.1, is a closed session, and that's due to local budget issue. So if someone like to move us into closed, Councillor Castra, and seconded Councillor Bowden Lumsden. All those in favour of going to closed? Councillor McDonald, you in favour of going to closed? That's carried. Thank you. Recommendations on page 68. Would someone like to move the recommendation, the officer's recommendation? Councillor Tozer and seconded Councillor Lacastra. All those in favour? That's carried. General business, councillors. Yes, Councillor McDonald.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Do you want me to stand?
No.
I had a resident come in from Daffodil Street at Kambatra. They were one of the properties that had flood problems. The query that I had was that previous to the flood, or in their previous account, they had a lot of work done around the house and they knew that there was a high water usage. After the flood, they've had another one and it was even higher. So they got a plumber in and they got solar hard out to fix their, solar. They've paid out quite a deal of money and found that there's no leak. When they came back to council, they were told it was only an estimation. They're out of pocket, which they're not happy about, but they said if there had have been estimation on their account, they would have known to ring council and say, about it, and they wouldn't have gone out and got a plumber in and got a solar heart in. So what's our, what do we do about accounts? Can we put estimation on when we send out water accounts?
Through the chair, we can put estimations. Generally, we put estimation on where we can't get access to the water meter. So there's a few scenarios where we just can't get that read. So we make an estimate calculation based on previous years and previous months and seasons. So that's the typical scenario that we would put an estimation on. My understanding is that the customer you're speaking of, we've put an estimate on which suggested they had a leak when they didn't have a leak, and they've acted upon that and incurred costs when they didn't really have a leak.
Because with their previous account, they got a little letter, to say that
A high water use letter. Yes.
Overusing, but they understood that because had work done around the place.
Yeah.
But when they got this other account, because they'd been out of their home for a month because of
Flooding.
And no water had been used, and yet their bill was much higher than the previous account. What council's requirements are, that you get a plumber in and everything else, which they went and did. Then they found out it was only estimated. They said it could have saved them a whole lot of money and a whole lot of angst if it had estimation on their account.
Okay. Councillor, through the chair, what I'd suggest is that if I can get those details, I can ask the customer to email me a complaint, and that way we can push that through a transparent and structured investigation and look at our options for how we can make things right with that customer. And that way they can see, in terms of our administrative complaints policy, that we've been true to that, and we make sure that it's sort of transparent and we do it in a really structured way. If that is we haven't been able to get a satisfactory sort of outcome in the customer's eyes through the leakage relief team's assessment of that scenario.
They're just saying maybe it might save a bit of heartache for people in the future.
Yeah, Councillor, who was first? Councillor Gates? Go ladies first, there you go.
It's just a personal question while we were still here. I got a late notice for a water bill some time back, and I paid it, but I never got the first notification. When I paid the bill, it was like twice as much as my previous quarter, but I just paid it and thought, whatever. And I've subsequently found I've got a leak, and it was a leak in the hot water. The valve on the solar had broken, and the water was just running out for months. So I've had it fixed, but it comes to mind that I still haven't had another bill, and it seems ages ago. Are they always going by mail or email? How are they being distributed now?
It's the customer's choice, so the default is via mail, but if you go through our online option, they can be emailed.
So I'm not really familiar with how my account works, but is it possible they're sitting in my account rather than being sent to me, like in the my account notice?
My understanding is that they will be emailed out as opposed to sitting in a queue, if you like, for you to access. I can follow that up with billing through Lee Jackson's team just to make sure that nothing odd has occurred.
I can follow up myself. I just wondered since we were talking about it, and I will, but it just I've forgotten to do it, but I know I haven't had a water bill for ages, and the last one was like $900 for the quarter, and I don't ever use that much, but I've subsequently had a big leak fixed.
Yeah.
Well, certainly you should be getting one every 12 weeks, like clockwork. Adrian, Madam Chair, if I can...
Yeah.
It's like the billing system, when you register for my account, has to have an email address to push out the email bill. So absent the defect, it should be done every 3 months, but we need to have a look.
Yeah,
It could be a range of scenarios in the pathway system where the email address is changed or replaced, and it causes...
Well, I just know that I got a late notice that I hadn't paid my water bill, and I hadn't ever been notified I had a water bill last time. So I don't know how I missed it, but anyway, I'll follow up myself, Chris. No drama.
In the My Account, so Adrian, do they do you have your history? Like, can you check your history?
I can't confirm that.
Oh, okay.
It has to fulfill to an email address. They may have the history, but I can take it on.
Oh, okay, thank you. Councillor Tozer.
Thanks, Councillor O'Neill. There's a forward planning item that talks about waste and recycling centre network operations, and I wondered, it hasn't got a date attached to it. It's in an item we've already resolved, but my question actually relates to the Mudgeeraba Waste Transfer Station. I'm aware that we are pending in another committee a cemeteries report, and you'll be aware of the nexus between the cemetery and the waste transfer station in Mudgeeraba. They're adjacent to each other, and there is some land use conversation happening. Is there going to be a report to this committee about the operational activity inside Mudgeeraba and when it might come to a conclusion?
There was not going to be a committee paper. I know we've submitted one in the past, but I did meet with Richard Pascoe yesterday, and I was hoping to catch you after this meeting to give you a briefing to be clear on what your needs are and what you would recommend for sort of the community consultation, the community communication around that one.
Yeah, so I mean, we're pending the cemetery report, but it is evident that some staff have become aware of changing operational environment, and it would make sense for there to be more explicit information for residents who use the Mudgeeraba transfer station, what's going to happen. So let's have a meeting, and then if we need some sort of broader communication to all councillors, I think that would make sense. If we're changing our frontline services, every councillor should be aware of that.
And certainly we can speak offline if you wish, Councillor.
Yep,
We did send out a memo, I think last week, a briefing note to a number of stakeholders across the city, but not all councillors. I'll take your point that we can get that more broadly. We have got a communications plan around this one, but again, we've got to meet the needs of that community.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just before I close the meeting, can we just note, Rebecca, that Councillor Hamill was a no-show?
Apology? Or?
Well, would someone like I haven't received an apology from him. I don't know that anyone else has. I think if we haven't received an apology, I'm not sure that we can move it. Councillor Gates, do you know the process there? If we haven't received...
Well, you can. No, you can.
You can move an apology for him? Yeah. Okay, Councillor Gates move an apology and seconded by... Oh, sorry, you're not on this committee, but Councillor Castro moved the apology for Councillor Hamill, seconded by Councillor Tozer.
No, I believe you can. We've done that in the past. When I think about it, someone's not here and literally someone's just moved an apology for them. It makes sense what you're saying, but we have actually done it before. But you can sort of wait and get advice if you like. Maybe we've done it and it's been wrong, but...
Is anyone calling?
No, I didn't actually. Well, I actually thought he was just running late. I thought he would come in any minute, and he didn't. So I don't know. But, well, I'm happy to take the motion.
I'm happy
All
to
those-
second the motion.
Yep. All those in favour? And you're not in favour, councillor McDonald?
I'm not
No.
voting
Okay.
because I think we need advice.
Okay. So councillor McDonald has abstained and three of us have.
I understood it was to do.
Well, it looks like.
Ryan, were you
Tonight.
voting for that? Or?
Happy to support it, but
Yeah.
is that
Well, I do take, I'm pretty sure that you're right, councillor Castro, that it has been done before and councillor Gates is nodding, so,
If you have 3 votes for and everyone else abstains, you
yeah.
table the line.
And I'll find out.
It's not like
Exactly.
no one's calling any sort of division.
No,
So it is,
no.
you know, you're the chair. You can do. Yeah,
I'm sure there's been some extenuating circumstances,
I'm sure
so
there has.
we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Yep. All right, meeting closed at 2:30.